Welcome to this episode of Commissioner's Corner. Today joining me is Steve McLain, who's the new HR Director or Human Resources Director for Kitsap County. Stay tuned and you'll learn a lot. So joining me now is Steve McLain, our new Human Resources Director for Kitsap County. Steve, thanks so much for being part of the program today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me.
And welcome to the Kitsap County family.
Yeah, thank you very much. I love it here in Kitsap.
Well, cool. One of the things I think our viewers would like to know, and we've had some changes in some of our senior leadership with the county, and it's something that's going to probably continue happening as we have an aging workforce and people are nearing retirement age. But this year we've had three new directors, three new leaders as part of the family. So I'm thinking some of our viewers might want to know a little bit more about you. So what would you like to just share about yourself?
Sure. Well, I am a Washingtonian. I've grown up in Washington. I have worked for the state of Washington for a little over 30 years. The last 24 years with the Department of Labor and Industries in Olympia. And I left there in September and came and joined the Kitsap team. I've been here since September 1st. I officially moved here and started the new job on September 2nd.
Well, that didn't leave you a lot of time for transition there.
No, it didn't.
Well, good. So, a lifetime Washingtonian.
Yeah.
That's great. With I happen to be one of those interlopers coming in about a quarter of a century ago, but it's nice to have you here. So, family.
Yeah, I'm married. My wife and I just moved from Olympia up here. Most of my other family, my parents and my children, are still in Olympia. They're grown. My daughter is married. Got a stepdaughter who is living and working for the state of Washington, and my son is a snowboard instructor at White Pass, so among other things. But they're great kids, and they're all here in Washington. They love being here, and they've all been up here to Kitsap County. Debbie and I moved into a nice community in Kitsap, and we love the neighborhood. Lots of outdoor activities, trails, and things to do, and that's one of the things that we really like about this county is there's just a lot to do outdoors.
Mm-hmm. Well, wonderful. I think that's really, I think, is an interesting thing for people to understand that, what is it about Kitsap County that tends to draw people here, and it's probably something different for everyone. Yeah. But definitely we have a lot of beauty and a wonderful quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things my wife loves is water. She loves the sound. In Olympia, we would go down to the boardwalk regularly. And of course, that's a huge attraction for her here. And so we like to get out and just enjoy the area and the community. And the people in Kitsap County have just been so kind and warm. And that's been a really fun thing to learn. And Debbie has met some great people in Kitsap, in the community, a lot of artists and authors. She does publishing, and so so she's really started to make some connections with some really interesting people. So it's been a lot of fun and easier than you would think in a new community. So.
Okay, well, that's excellent. Glad to hear that. So what is it about the Human Resources Director position that really drew you to that as an opportunity, as a next step in your career? And as a follow-on to that, sort of what in your background and your work experience do you really want to bring to that role?
Sure. I've really cared about people most of my career and been in jobs that have given me the opportunity to serve people. And in Washington State, I did personnel work. I did contract negotiations for the governor's office. and for the Department of Labor and Industries and Human Resources. I've been the Director of Human Resources there for the last 3 or 4 years. And I love finding ways to solve problems and help people. And I think what drew me to Kitsap is that opportunity to work with a local government. Really, when you think about a county government, it's really everything that a large state government has to do, all just in a smaller form. And so it has all different kinds of public servants who are just really committed to serving the local community. And you can really get your hands into the personal needs in the community. And so my goal and the reason I really wanted to do this job is to be a part of something close to home, something that we could affect together, and to be able to work with all of those entities to really create a really good community in Kitsap County to work for.
So what do you see are some of the trends that are starting to enter into the human resources field and into different employment settings?
Yeah, there's big changes in our age demographic. As you said earlier, a lot of our senior leaders are starting to reach that actual retirement age where they're really thinking about retirement. And that's a challenge as our workforce matures and starts to move out of the workforce, bringing a new workforce in. And so that's a challenge, I think. Also, just the challenge of having a difficult financial setting, and so there's a lot of demands in the work area, and people think that we can meet those demands with money and paying people more. But I believe we can create a work environment that people want to be in, and pay matters, but it's not the primary factor that usually keeps people in a job. What keeps people in a job is a good work environment where they love coming to work. The people around them are good to work with. And so I think we can do things to create that kind of environment and make sure people get cared for financially as well. But that's what I really want to bring, and that's why I do human resources, because I think that I can help solve some of those people problems that can make a workplace really good to work in.
And I think that's why I use the term county family.
Yeah.
As you said, any organization I've ever been at, it's never been the job per se. It's always been about the people and that dynamic and the culture that makes a big difference. So I'm glad to hear that. That's really kind of where it's at. So what are some of your initial impressions of Kitsap County as an employer?
I've gotten to know over the first couple months here a lot of the people that are working here, and just a lot of very caring people that take their job very seriously, but at the same time take interest in caring for each other. I think one of my introductions was a Blue Monday, because we had a Monday night Seattle Seahawks football game, and everybody was dressed up and bringing food in, and they're doing their work and they're doing it really well, but they're having fun together too. And that's a really good sign, because that's saying that I care about you more than just the work you do every day, but I care about you as a person. And that was all levels of the organization contributing. And so I like to see that, because that tells me that it's an environment where people want to come and spend time together.
So one of the things that falls under the Human Resources Department is training.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts about training? What is the importance of sort of that, training as in how you bring new employees on board,
Absolutely.
but also in that the continued development and being able to provide service to the community?
Yeah. Employee development is a key to keeping people happy in their jobs. And we all, as individuals, just need to continue to learn and grow. Our life is about that. We get bored and we get disgruntled when we aren't learning and growing in our personal life. And that's very much true in our work life. And so it's my belief that it's really our job to identify ways to help all of our employees, we don't do the learning for them, but we have to help provide opportunities for them to learn. And there are so many different kinds of careers in the county, and so there are opportunities really to do almost anything if you want to. And so providing ways to encourage people to continue their growth and learning, provide low-cost ways for them to experience some of those different jobs, get some skills that are going to apply to those jobs so they can move through. It helps retain employees. When people talk about retention, they often think, I'm going to be in the same job for the next 25 years. And in this economy and in this environment, no one wants to work in the same job for 25 years. So we have to provide ways for people to learn skills to move into other jobs and advance their careers when they're ready to do that.
I think, yeah, that's not only sort of that migration between departments potentially to within your tenure at the county, but also those kind of that, what do they call that, kind of a career ladder of sorts, where there's opportunities for advancement within a particular division. You start entry level and you move your way up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, wonderful. So when it comes to training, I'm sure there's been a lot of changes. Even from what I've seen, it used to be more hands-on classroom type of learning. We've sort of shifted to e-learning or online learning. How much has the county really kind of moved in there, or is there still opportunities for potential and change?
I think there are a lot of opportunities. There are certain things we do electronically, but there's huge opportunity for that. I think there are certain types of things we can learn that way. Many of the skills and the jobs that we have, we actually need to get in and actually do and experience hands-ons. And so what we're going to have to do is a combination. As you know, technology is changing all the time. And so we've got to keep all of our employees current on technology. And that's good for them in the jobs they work in the county. It's also good for them personally when they leave and go home. And so, you know, we'll just have to keep working on refreshing skills as things change. But at the same time, if I want to do something completely different, if I want to move out of the cubicle world in an office and get into a job in our roads department, for example, can we provide a way for them to have an opportunity to do that? I believe we can, by giving them some opportunities to try out new things to see if they really want to do that kind of work. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think we've really just scratched the surface in what we can do for our employees, and I think that will really give us the opportunity to retain some really good people in the county, maybe not in the exact same job they were first hired for, probably not in the same job they were first hired for, but in a job that is going to keep them happy and coming back to work. So
there's the training aspect of employees that are looking to move and grow within the organization, but there's also the training of supervisors, managers to be able to help and support them in that way. So how do we do that? We do have programs that are in place within the county to do that for supervisors and managers, but are there other ways that you could see in the time that you've, I mean, granted, it's been just shy of 2 months on the job, but in terms of what you've been exposed to the training program, is there ways to, or other things that you've gleaned from other settings that we could incorporate? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that we have just scratched the surface. So we're teaching supervisors and managers some of the very basics in terms of how to manage their employees. I don't believe we've really helped them learn the skill of development for employees yet. And so I think that is an area that we have an opportunity to work on over the next year or so, just really thinking about how we help them identify and work with their employees to identify where those employees want to grow. And that's something that I did a little bit of at the Department of Labor and Industries. I had an opportunity to create an assessment tool where employees could actually
think for themselves about the areas they were interested in, and then begin to have a conversation with their manager about how could I move in that direction? What would I need to learn? How could I, do I need to go back to college, or can I do an on-the-job training, or what would it be that would help me pursue that avenue? And that's the conversation where managers and supervisors will be able to engage their workers and really start talking about what the employee wants to do, rather than trying to plot a path for them. And that's been our traditional succession planning model. I design a path for you that takes you to some future that you might not want to be in. And that's not the best way. Let you choose your end result and help you plan the path is a better solution.
So that imposed from up above versus sort of being that more organic, what is it that the individual wants to, where do they want to go, what do they want to do and accomplish?
And really help them identify the purpose they want to serve within sort of a government structure. Like I said, there are so many different opportunities. Where do they really see themselves fitting in that organization? Maybe it's where they started. Most often, people get into a job just because they need some income. And it might be that something that they're fairly good at, but it's not necessarily the purpose that they feel important to do. And so helping them know there's a way to move to somewhere where they will be more satisfied, I think is, and then actually providing the avenues to do that. If we can do that, we'll continue to grow our own workforce, and we will have employees who will stay with the county for 20 years.
So as an employer, though, what is the competition that that governments are now, or government entities are kind of feeling with? We're starting to have a recovery in the economy, and we hope that it continues and in a good, stable way. But so what's the push and pull now that we're having some rebound with recruitment for employees to fill vacancies compared to the private sector?
Well, we will experience that because our compensation levels have had to be somewhat steady for a number of years with very little increase. And some of the private sector can move more rapidly than a county or state or city government can. We have budget cycles, and we make those adjustments during those budget cycles, and sometimes we have to let our revenue streams take hold before we know whether we can actually fund those kinds of things. And so a corporation can, project for those things, and they can make more swifter adjustments. And so we're a little bit behind the curve in being able to do that. We're also competing with a lot of military organizations now, and there are a lot of contractors and organizations in our community that are serving those entities, and those are good paying jobs.
So are we getting good pools of candidates, though, for open positions?
In most of our jobs, we still are. I think that some of our law enforcement areas, there are some challenges. And so we're working on some strategies to try and figure out how to address that and make sure that we are attractive. We do offer, our organization offers something not every organization has. There's some flexibility for the officers in terms of scheduling, and there's some things we're trying to do to make the environment more attractive. But the truth is their compensation is actually pretty good in some of our local areas and to our neighboring county in the south. And so we're looking at all those things to try and make sure that we have the kind of work environment and the kind of compensation plan that's going to be competitive with all of those individuals.
So the complete package.
That's right. Because you can have a great compensation package and have a really lousy place to work.
True.
And so we don't want that to be the situation here. We want it to be a really great place to work.
Excellent. So Steve, I understand we'll also have another job that you might say, sort of something that you were doing here in Kitsap before you joined Kitsap County. So can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, I'm a pastor of a local church, Capital Christian Center here in Port Orchard, and I took on that role as the head pastor of that church. The same time I started working for Kitsap County, but I'd been serving in the church, helping lead that church for about the last year, right at the top of the hill in Port Orchard, and it's a great opportunity to do what I already shared that I love to do, which is really work with people and help people, really help them find their purpose in their life and to find solutions to some of the difficult problems that we all face, and see them turn their lives around as they have a relationship with God and they really move into a place of satisfaction. My wife and I do some personal counseling with marriages, and we love working with families to see families get healed and just become thriving people in our community. And so we love that work, and we're really drawn to Kitsap because of the people we were working with in the church. It caused us to really fall in love with the area and the community. It's such a beautiful area, and both of us were in that season in our life where we said, okay, it's time to make a shift. And so we've taken on that responsibility, and it was just a wonderful opportunity to be able to join Kitsap County and to be able to do really the purpose that is for me, which is really to help people in both parts of my career. And so I really found it's really been a satisfying journey. A lot of the same work, but doing it in two different venues.
Okay. So have you been a lay leader before in other venues, and this was just something that you had an aspiration to do, or is it something that just kind of happened organically, an opportunity arose?
Well, I went to school and studied to become a pastor back in the mid-'80s, and had wound up serving in church in a variety of different capacities, helping there's a main church in Lacey, and this is a branch of that church. Okay. And so we were serving there during doing marriage coaching, helping lead small groups, and we got the opportunity to just come up here and actually help for a while with some of those things. And organically it kind of shifted, and we were asked to take on the leadership role, and it was a surprise to us to some degree, but obviously there was a greater plan for us to make that shift, and it just so happened that a couple days after we said yes to taking on that church as leaders, a job announcement showed up on my desk for the human resource director here. So obviously that was a plan that was above mine, because at that time my wife and I had not planned to make a transition or a move, but we are just really thrilled that we were able to do that. We know that's our purpose, and being here just feels right.
That's cool. I mean, I like that story, and I appreciate you sharing that with myself as well as our viewers, because life is interesting. It flows. There's a journey that unfolds, and we don't always know what tomorrow brings, but it's kind of exciting when those different pieces start to gel and make other things happen. And I think really for me, there's a nexus there definitely with human resources. When you think about the county as an organization and the ability that we have through that human capital to make some pretty amazing things happen, things that probably most people take for granted. They're behind the scenes, and if it's working well, you don't realize it. But I think there's always that connection for people with something that's just it's that purpose. I think that's really why you get into public service.
That's right.
It's not, as you said, it's not just all about compensation, but it's about a certain something that we get as individuals. And I did that for a couple of decades in the not-for-profit sector. It was always about the mission and serving the mission and being able to actualize that. So I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your willingness to be part of our program today. I think it was a great opportunity for our residents of Kitsap County to learn a little bit about you and know about the leadership of our Human Resources Department, because we're on the right step and moving forward, and we'll make some great things happen, and Kitsap will continue to be a great place to work, and
Absolutely.
we'll have a great workforce to continue to provide services to our citizens. Well, thank you for tuning into this episode of Commissioner's Corner. You had an opportunity to learn more about Steve McLain, who's the Human Resources Director for Kitsap County now. If you are interested in more information about Kitsap County as an employer or current employment opportunities, go to kitsapgov.com and click on the employment page and you'll learn a lot more. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.